Hello, reader. I'm Alix.
I'm Kelly.
And this is
the LitJoy Podcast.
This episode is brought to you by the next installment in our Fablehaven series.
Ooh.
So LitJoy is releasing each of the Fablehaven books with new covers, beautiful end pages, and we're working with Brandon on this.
Yeah.
And it has turned into such a fun middle grade project. So the next one in the series is called Rise of the Evening Star.
Brandon Mull, the author, has also included an author letter for our set specifically. There are brand new beautiful end pages. They're going to have gold gilded edges. It's just a beautiful collector's edition to add to your bookshelves and to read. Like to read with your kids, to read to yourself, like just to add to your collection. I just love these because they have such a, it's like such a statement.
And these go in the shop at May 22nd to Lunicorns and May 23rd to the public. So make sure to either find out what a Lunicorn is and become one. You can find that under membership on our website. Or you can, if it's May 23rd and it's open to the public, you can head to litjoycrate.com/Fablehaven. Fablehaven. Awesome. Thank you for listening to these promos, folks. So today's episode, we're talking about summer reads. What do we mean by summer reads, Kelly?
Thanks.
Tell me more.
So we put together a list of our top 10 most anticipated summer reads for 2024. So these are books that we have not yet read. These are not released yet. There's only one out that we'll be talking about that has already been released.
Perfect.
But we're talking about for summer or beach reads are books that are just going to be light, fun, almost like palate cleansers. A lot of them, but not all of them, are probably in the romance genre, romance contemporary. I know we have some fantasy on here as well, but we wanted to get ahead of it and recommend the books that we're hearing a lot of buzz about, the books that we are just popping up like in our field over and over again, which I'm like, got it. This is the one to keep an eye on. And I think these are all going to be fantastic reads for, like we talked about, taking on a trip, needing to just lay out in the sun and take a break and pull out your book.
Yeah.
That's the vibe of the books we're recommending.
Yeah. And I think the fun thing about summer, especially if you live somewhere where there's seasons, like summer is a time to kind of like let down and to like enjoy being outside in the sun. And we don't get a ton of vitamin D here for like 6 to 8 months out of the year. And so I think that's why summer reads are always important to us is like, how can we keep that light mood and kind of that like recovery and like playful vibe of summer going, if that makes sense?
I mean, I just want a book that makes me forget sometimes and just to be entertained and enjoy the story. And these are our recommendations for that. So these are the books that you want to add to your to-be-read list, all dropping starting as early as February. It's the only one that is currently out as we are recording this, all the way through, I believe, August.
Perfect. Okay, so up first, we've talked a little bit about this book before because it was featured in our To Be Read subscription crate. It is Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. Tessa is just a great one for picking up books that have characters that have funny internal dialogue.
She writes rom-com.
Yes, she's very much known for her rom-com.
Yes. And this one released February 13th. So it is out and I don't know if we have any leftovers because we did a special edition of this one.
There might be some in our shop if you hear this, so go check it out.
Maybe go see if there's some.
But yeah, this one is basically a professional golf player is off his game, and his number one fan also might be the key to helping him get his game back. Get
his game back.
I know.
Golf.
I mean, I know a lot about golf, but I feel like golf is a little bit of a fringe sport in romance novels. So I think Tessa's like, why the hell not? And it's fun. I'm excited to dive into this one because obviously if she is like his kind of assistant, his athletic muse of sorts, I think it gets a little bit sexy. So
yeah, I think that she believes in him when he doesn't, right? And I think she's almost like his golf caddy or something.
Yes.
And travels around with him because he's like a professional golfer.
I don't know if she's like literally his caddy or not. So does it say that in the synopsis?
I just know that she really supports him when he doesn't believe in himself. And I don't know what that relationship is exactly because we haven't read it yet.
I know.
But I just know that it's going to be like forced proximity
and Grumpy Sunshine.
And Grumpy Sunshine is what's going on here, which are some of our favorite romance tropes.
Yeah.
We can't get enough.
I know.
And it has such good reviews on this one.
Perfect.
So we'll kind of cruise through this list. So number 2 on our list is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. And this releases on April 2nd. So this one, I'm going to read the synopsis on since we haven't actually held this book in our hands yet. It says, Justin has a curse. And thanks to a Reddit thread, it's now all over the internet. Every woman he dates goes on to find their soulmate the second they break up. When a woman slides into his DMs with the same problem, they come up with a plan. They'll date each other and break up. Their curse will cancel each other's out, and they'll both go on to find the love of their lives. It's a bonkers idea, and it just might work.
My gosh.
I read a book just like this. I'm like, oh, okay.
I know. It feels, there's been a couple movies like this too that have come out.
Yes. It's supposed to be like this quick fling and just for the summer, but of course, right? It's not how it's going to go. And now they're going to probably fall in love. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler. If it's a romance, most of them end in love.
But just for the summer, it's obviously a summer read by the title. It's got all the tropes in there that we were talking about. It sounds like fake dating, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sure that they both have toxic traits that they're going to help each other heal. I love these two, but I'm excited about this because it's similar to one I just finished reading, and I loved it because I like when the pressure's off when they date.
Mm-hmm.
And so that they just kind of are 100% themselves because they're like, nothing's going to happen here, right? We all know this is an agreement. A contract we signed on a napkin, however it goes. And they get to be just 100% authentic and best friends. And then, of course, they fall in love. So
of course.
I love it.
I know. I love it too. I love the accidentally falling in love element of it. And obviously just like exactly the perfect read for the summer.
Well, what's our third on the list that you got to add to your TBR?
Okay, The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. Ooh. So this one it's kind of like enemies to lovers, but lovers to enemies to lovers kind of scenario. So the main characters, which by the way, this is college sweethearts meet again years later in this highly anticipated romance and companion story to the viral TikTok sensation, The Cheat Sheet.
Oh, that's right.
So Sarah Adams wrote The Cheat Sheet. And if you loved that one, I'm like, for sure, pick this one up. What I love about this one, so Nora McKinsey, she is now a sports agent. She's just budding in her career as an agent representing athletes. Her ex-boyfriend, who she dumped and broke his heart, is Derek. He's Derek Pender, and he's a tight end in the NFL, and he's looking for an agent, and he hires her to be his agent. So kind of like her whole career depends on this working with him. Mm-hmm. He has a plan. The plan is to make Nora's life absolutely miserable. But if Derek knows anything about the woman he once loved, she won't quit easily. So instead of giving up, Nora starts a scheme of her own. But then a wild night in Vegas leads to Nora and Derek in bed the next morning, married. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, forced marriage, love it so much.
Forced marriage.
In books.
I'm all okay.
Not really forced, but accidental.
Accidental.
With their rule book out the window, could this new relationship be a thing to save their careers? Dun, dun, dun.
I know. So good.
I'm like, it's giving female professional and football player energy, which I feel like is such a fun trope in romance.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, all these rom-coms, bring them to me.
Yeah.
We read so much for other things within, LitJoy.
Yeah, like
book clubs.
More serious books.
Yes, we're reading a lot of fantasy or books that are really heavy or like women's fiction. And so I'm like, I love all these suggestions to add to kind of like palate cleanse as well.
For sure.
Number 4 on our list is someone we can't stop recommending. It's Funny Story by Emily Henry. I mean, Emily Henry has quite the name out there right now for these rom-coms. And this one releases on April 23rd. So April's going to be a good month. We got lots of dropping, I'm noticing.
They all come out right before summer, I think. So people can like get them and start doing the summer reading.
And that's why I know, like I said, we haven't read these, but we did do the research to know like these are some of the hottest titles to recommend to you so that you were ready to go when summer hits.
I'm so ready.
I'm ready. Okay, so here's the synopsis on this one. It's a shimmering, joyful new novel about a pair of opposites with the wrong thing in common. So Daphne, she's like the main protagonist here. She always loved the way that her fiance Peter told their love story, how they met on a blustery day, fell in love, and moved back to the lakeside hometown to begin their life together. He was really good at telling the story, right up until the moment he realized he was actually in love with his childhood best friend, Petra. Ooh, I was like, oh, snap, So, and this is in which Daphne starts her new life, her new story. This happens, they break up, they're not obviously engaged anymore. And so it says that she's stranded in beautiful Waning Bay, Michigan. She doesn't have friends or family, but she does have her dream job as being a children's librarian. And it's not super lucrative, but she loves it. And she's proposing to be roommates with the only person who could possibly understand her predicament, which is Petra's ex, Miles Noack.
So the two dumped,
yes.
The two who got dumped are forced proximity in renting a home together.
Sounds like because she doesn't make a lot of money, she needs a roommate. Yes. And she's like, oh, Miles will understand like the situation I'm in. Yep. And I'm like, and he'll understand.
And from what I gather from this, Miles is kind of scruffy and a bit chaotic, and she's very buttoned down. So he's brings a little bit more of that like kind of loose vibes to the relationship, where he's just a little bit of chaos, and she's got to figure out a way to like deal with that as a roommate. And I'm sure she just gets so annoyed.
She's just like,
and he's just like, you need to loosen up a bit. It kind of gives, if anyone saw The Family Stone, it kind of reminds me of Luke Wilson and Sarah Jessica Parker, their two characters, because she's like very uptight.
Yeah.
And he's the brother. They're not romantically involved, but he just kind of sees that what she really needs is to just loosen up a little bit and relax a little bit. So I wonder if you get that in this.
That's part of the plot, I think, because it talks about how they kind of avoid each other for the most part and a little bit annoyed by each other. But then there's this like one night where they're both just like talking through what happened to them with their ex-fiancés, and they form a plan. So the plan is they're going to post some photos on their social, basically, that show them together to kind of insinuate, like, look how great our lives are. We've moved on. We're great. Woo.
We're doing amazing.
And again, it's this like fake dating kind of sitch a little bit because they're already roommates, but they're like not into each other as roommates. But then when they form the plan, that's where the tension starts to build.
Yep.
So,
and they're like, wait, maybe.
It's like, but it's all just for show, of course, because there's no way Daphne would ever actually start her new chapter by falling in love with her ex-fiance's new fiance's ex, right?
Right.
What? Take me on that journey again.
You're like windblown after saying it.
That was a lot. But it sounds like a really fun, complicated, story with all these exes coming together. It just sounds like they were all in each other's orbit, but just got the wrong pairing. So they're correcting that now.
Next up on our list is The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. And this releases on May 14th. And I'm very excited about this one. So essentially, Christina and West are the main characters. And they are at one point married and then divorced. So West is a professor. I believe he's a professor at Stanford. And she's an artist. And the two of them, it didn't work out in their marriage. But he is the heir to a huge grocery conglomerate.
Oh, okay. Like inheriting like a business.
And the only way he can inherit is if he is married for 5 years.
Oh.
And because his grandpa is very antiquated, and he was like, you should only get this money if you remain married for 5 years, kind of a thing. So he has to introduce his not-so-ex-wife, who thought she was his ex-wife, to the parents. And this is a situation. So it seems like in the beginning, their marriage was not for romance, and that it kind of, it seems like they had the same incentives. And it's not really clear in the synopsis if she knew that he was the heir and needed to stay married to her to get the money. But she definitely needed him for like subsidized housing and things like that at UCLA. So in the beginning, I don't know if they had a really romantic relationship. It seems like it was more transactional.
Yeah, it seems like it was for convenience.
Yes. And then there's this whole shift into like her thinking it's over and him being like, oh crap, like I have to introduce her to my parents to like get this money.
They actually never got divorced. She thought they did, but it didn't go through.
Which is just so great because that's got to just make for such good romance content and like her frustrations around that. Because in real life, you'd never want to find out your divorce was fake.
Yeah.
But like in romance, you're like, oh good, they get to come back and like ignite a spark.
But it adds to the 5 years that he had to be married, even though they've been like, in a sense, divorced.
Yes.
And so from what it sounds like, he's like, I need you to come back and prove that we're still married. And she's all, excuse me?
Yes.
He's like, you'll get money for it. And she's broke.
She's super broke.
And so she's all, fine.
Yeah. Which is just so interesting. I love that she's an artist and that he's a professor because there's that polarity there, which is so great in romance novels and in life in general too, is that polarity in talents or like thinking. And so I know that that'll come into play as well, which will be really fun.
I recognize Christina Lauren. So last year, one of her really popular books was called The Unhoneymooners. And this is kind of in the similar vein cover-wise. It's like this tropical green covered lush kind of look to it.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be a really unique one because it's like a marriage of convenience. I haven't actually read many like that in this romance trope before. There's obviously fake dating, except that they're married technically on paper. But again, it was for convenience. And now it sounds like second time around is for love.
Which is a fun twist.
And so it's set in a tropical location. And, that's why the cover is that way. And it's got dual point of view, which I also really love when they bounce back and forth between.
Oh, I love that. I know. Why is dual point of view so good?
I think it's good because you always want to know what he's thinking, what she's thinking.
Right.
Because if you only get one side, you only get one side. And
it's true. There's just romance, like so much depth I feel like there's more depth you can do with like dual perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I love it because when we all read Twilight, I always think about this. I was like so annoyed in being in Bella's head for that long.
It was too long.
And we all were like, we'd rather have been in Edward's.
100%. He's like 100 years old. And I'm like, I want to know what he's thinking. I want to know why he's attracted to this 16-year-old.
I mean, also that.
Like vanilla wafer of a human. Like just
something about her.
Yeah. What is it? Is it her smell? He's all...
Oh, right. When they first meet. Yeah. It's like the woman in the stories. Oh, these romances are always having a whole different story than what the man is thinking. And so
like a different internal dialogue.
Different story. And so I love now that this is so much more common where you get the dual point of view. But this looks great because it's unlike the other ones I've read.
For sure.
Where I'm like, oh, they weren't divorced this whole time. It was just a marriage of convenience. And so now we get to see them, if they want to, fall back in love, which I'm guessing they do. Knowing how the formula works.
I'm going to guess that it's going to be enjoyable. And it is firmly in the romance genre. So it'll have that romance content.
Yeah. And it releases on May 14th. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. I'm like, number 6, 12th Night by Alexene Farol Follmuth.
Good job.
I think that's how you pronounce that name.
I like it.
And it's 12th Night, like Knight. So this is by the New York Times bestselling author who did the Atlas 6 under the pen name Olivia Blake. So I'm like, this person, whoever they are, has a thing for names and pageantry. I love the pen name and their actual name.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a pen name. And so I put this in here because I was like, what?
Yes. So this is a grumpy sunshine YA comedy. So that's the like spice level you're going to get. Coming of age, taking up space in the world and learning what it means to let others in. So this is all about Viola Rise. And she's annoyed.
That's the whole story.
I love when authors do that, where it's like their synopsis and they're like, my name is Olivia Jack and I'm pissed. It's like the first line of the book. It's like,
because you immediately are like, but why?
Yeah. Okay. So this book takes place in high school. The main character, Viola, or Viola, however they say it. Viola.
That's pretty.
Yeah, Viola. I like that.
I accept.
Yeah, so she is a vice student president, and the student president is Jack. And Jack seems like he's doing jack squat. And he seems very much like the popular kid, the football player, got voted as the class president because he's popular and isn't doing much. She seems very much like the overachiever, which resonates with me, and being in all of the activities and feeling like she always has to be on her A game. She's kind of a little bit of a perfectionist, and he drives her nuts. And so in order to kind of escape the pressures of her life, she escapes into the world of video games. And that's where she creates a male alter ego in there. And so she kind of catfishes Jack because, but I don't think on purpose, but maybe on purpose. Who knows? Can't tell. But essentially Jack, he gets injured in football. And so he tries to find solace as well in this game. And they meet and they connect there. And then they realize they have way more in common. So in real life at school, they kind of seem like frenemies. But online, they start to talk about love and relationships and connection. And then that's where it kind of blooms. So this one to me seems like a really fun YA contemporary, which is a deviation from some of the things we've seen from this author a little bit. But I think the idea is just a great escape, and it comes out on May 28th. So just in time.
Okay. I pulled one little line that I was going to read about this.
Perfect.
So it says, Twelfth Night is a YA Shakespeare retelling conveying one of the most important lessons, knowing when to let people in, and that will show us how to love, care, and belong. So that's also fun why I think it's Twelfth Night. Get a little bit of the Shakespeare analogy pulled in as well. So that's fun. And YA rom-coms are great because, again, you kind of know what you're getting on the spice level. And they're just so charming. And they make me smile so big when I read a YA like rom-com. And the cover's darling. I don't know if you've seen that one or not.
No.
She's like dressed up like a knight, literally.
Cute.
With like a sword and everything. And is he like a football player?
Yes.
We're saying he's like on crutches because he's injured. I think that's why. And she's like, huh. Like almost like pushing him away with their sword, So
it's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor. Go with it.
Metaphor. I love it so much. Okay, number 7 on the list is The Wren in the Holly Library. This one is by K.L. Linde. K.A. Linde?
Mm-hmm.
K.A. Linde. Linde, Linde, so that you can find it. I've never read anything by this author. I'm very excited to dive into this one because of a few things. First of all, it's recommended for fans of V.E. Schwab and Leigh Bardugo.
Yes.
It has dark, romantic-y, spicy romantic-y vibes. It's loosely based on Beauty and the Beast. Mm-hmm. When I read the synopsis, though, I felt like it reminded me more of some other things. It does have Beauty and the Beast themes, but it definitely has some of those kind of like apocalyptic vibes too. So it's alternative day New York, and it's filled with monsters. So there's a species of monsters that cohabitates New York along with humans, and they have like this really tenuous treaty to not destroy each other. It's not clear what the monsters are in the synopsis, so I'm excited to learn more about that. But essentially, the main protagonist, Kiersey, she is trapped in a library.
Ooh, fun.
And in the library owner is well within his rights to kill her because she has somehow broken some kind of a treaty.
Gotcha.
And he is, his name is Graves, and he's a monster. So she's a human and he's a monster. And instead of killing her, like a monster, like Beauty and the Beast would do, he actually gives her a job.
Oh, okay.
And then you find out that she has magical abilities. So I was just like, there are layers here of fun to unpack. And I'm very excited that it is a spicy romantasy as well.
Yes, it's a addictive, dark romantasy. So when I looked up this author, she's basically only written romance.
Yeah.
So this is like, from what I can tell, her first or one of her only crossover romantasies.
Perfect.
Where we get the fantasy element mixed in and a little bit of this like retelling with the Beauty and the Beast. It's very hyped. I've seen a lot of people talking about this one because romantasy, I think, thanks to Fourth Wing, is very popular right now.
Yeah.
So I love all these authors who are coming and mashing different genres with their
for sure.
comfort genre.
Well, because for a while there's so many of the romance novels were like, are they a cowboy or are they in New York?
You gotta be one or the other.
Yeah. And so it's so fun to see some of these similar tropes, like the forced proximity tropes or like, like Beauty and the Beast kind of setup in different settings. Like dystopian New York. That's fun. Like,
I know, like souls.
so like, but they're monsters. So it's like, it's giving like, what's that movie with Will Smith? And like, there's like vampires, but it's
yes.
I Am Legend.
It's like, I am scared.
I Am Scared. That book and movie was so scary, but it's like I Am Legend, but less scary and sexy instead.
Yes. So dark romance. Interesting.
Yeah. So
I'm really excited for this one.
I'm like, this is probably top of my list from our list to jump into because it does feel like it has a few of those elements that I love to pull in, which is like that dark fantasy element. So,
okay, that's a great number, lucky number 7 on that one. Number 8 on our list is Daydream by Hannah Grace, which is number 3 in the Maple Hills series. This one releases on June 4th. So love the Maple Hills books. We have both read Icebreaker and Wildfire, which are the first 2.
Love them.
Did you like Icebreaker or Wildfire better than it?
Okay, so I really enjoyed both of them.
Yes.
I know more people enjoyed Icebreaker, and that's sometimes kind of the case where like people love the first book they read of an author the most. I enjoyed book 2 just as much. I think I liked the setup of book 1 more with like more hockey and like college kind of integrated into it. And I wasn't as into like the summer camp setup, but I really did enjoy the characters in the summer camp one a lot too.
I felt that.
So, and in the first one, I feel like the main protagonist was kind of mean. She was kind of mean to him all the time. He didn't do a lot to deserve how mean she was, I felt like. So that kind of threw me. But I know that that's also kind of like a trope that people love. So
it's like she has all these walls up.
Yeah.
And so it's fun because when there's these romance series like this where they release several within like the same friend group, you get to experience each of their stories.
Yep.
And so we're getting the 3rd story from the Maple Hills series, which is from Henry's point of view, which everybody loves Henry so much. So we're all really excited for this 3rd
He's
book.
like a fan favorite for sure.
So here's the synopsis. When procrastination lands him in a difficult class with his least favorite professor, Henry Turner knows he's going to have to work extra hard to survive his junior year of college. And now with his new role as ice hockey captain, which he didn't even want, Henry absolutely cannot fail. Enter Hallie Jacobs, a fellow junior who finds herself befriended by Henry when he accidentally crashes her book club. Oh my gosh. I'm like, I love it already. Hallie may not have the romantic pursuits of her favorite fictional leads, but she's an academic superstar. And when she hears about Henry's problems with his class reading material, she offers to help. Well, yes, she gets to tutor him. But being a private tutor isn't exactly ideal given her own studies, job, and the novel that she's trying to write. New experiences are the key to beating her writer's block, though, and Henry's promised to be the one to give them to her. Oh, they just need to stick to their rule book. Oh, and not fall in love.
Dun, dun, dun.
Spoiler again, they probably will.
You're like, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say.
The writing is so good. I love I love the Maple Hills series. Like, Hannah does a great job of writing unique characters that all blend so well together and pull out the best as well as the worst in each other.
Yes.
And like, they like heal each other. So I don't know. I really enjoy these.
She reminds me a lot of Max Monroe in her writing style.
Yeah.
I feel like you kind of get a lot of the same like humor and internal dialogue, and I love it. Okay, so number 8, Daydream. Let's move on to number 9. Number 9 on our list is another fun adventure in the land of STEM romance, which I feel like Ali Hazelwood does so well.
So good.
It's like definitely bread and butter. I did read her Bride, which was also very enjoyable and a fun summer read.
That was more of a paranormal.
It was paranormal. She diverged from the land of STEM, but we're back in it with Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. This one's really fun. So the main protagonist is a bioengineer. Her name is Rue, and she is very successful at a company called Klein.
Okay.
And there is a buyer. She doesn't want anything to change in her life. She's got great friends. She's got a great career. She loves her job. She loves her research. And then Eli, the male protagonist, enters. Or is he antagonist? Dun, dun, dun. So he is a man who gets what he wants, which is just such a intense masculine trope. And he wants to be the owner of Klein, period. So Eli and his business partners want Klein, period. So they want to purchase the company that she works for. And of course, they have their own agenda around it. And it would just be forbidden to have any kind of romance with someone who works at the company that you're looking to acquire or that you're looking to take down, whatever it is in the book. Just says deal, a deal, an ominous deal.
Well, it sounds hot.
A deal. I know. So forbidden romance is the main trope of this.
Gotcha.
Obviously, they also have a lot of loyalty things. They have to think about being loyal to their side of the project. I think there's probably tension there with perverse incentives. And they obviously want to bang as well.
Even the cover's hot.
Yeah. Wow. That is kind of a spicy cover.
I know not everyone can see this, but it's just like they're kind of like clasp,
hug making out,
like kind of like gripping onto each other, and he's almost like kissing up her shoulder. It looks like, and she's kind of like
forbidden.
Her hands are up in his hair, and I'm all okay. So the cover's like really pushing the romance, like
cartoon,
the forbidden romance aspect is what it feels like.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted a lot. I was like, I have a lot of thoughts about that cover.
Yeah.
No, that's fun. So they're torn between loyalty and undeniable attraction. And in the end, they decide that they're just going to explore this, but that it is forbidden and that no one could ever know. Right? Not in love. They're so not in love.
Yeah.
They're in lust and no one must know.
They're in lust.
I'm like, for sure, just put Ali on your always to be read.
I love this. It's like torn between loyalty and an undeniable attraction. Rue and Eli throw caution out the lab and the bedroom windows. Oh, sorry, boardroom. I was
Freudian slip there.
Their affair is secret, no strings attached, and has a built-in deadline. The day one of their companies will prevail.
Perfect.
Okay.
Add it to the list.
That one's going to be good. Okay.
Okay, so number 10 on our list and the final one for this episode of Summer Reads is The Wedding People by Alison Espach. Espach. And this one releases on July 30th. It is a true summer chick lit is how it's described, which I don't fully get what that means, but chick literature.
It's all about women.
Yeah, it is categorized as a rom-com.
Yeah.
However, it's not particularly clear who is having romance in this. And so it's very interesting. So it's a beautiful day in Newport, Rhode Island. And Phoebe Stone is the main protagonist. And she has always dreamed of going to Cornwall Inn and having this beautiful experience there. She wants to, it says here that she wants to shuck oysters and take in the sunset and go sailing. And she wanted to do all this with her husband. Only for some reason, she's arrived at the inn and she's not there with her husband. She's by herself. No bags, nothing. And at the inn, there happens to be, it's quite busy because there's another thing happening. It's a wedding, obviously, the wedding people. Yeah. And that there's a bride involved where she is trying to make the perfect wedding happen at this at the Cornwall Inn as well. And so everybody just kind of thinks Phoebe's part of the wedding guests and that she's coming to enjoy the wedding. But that's not really how the story unfolds.
Yeah. And so the bride basically, from what I could tell, is like had everything planned out except this unexpected visitor, which is like Phoebe. So they start talking. And from the synopsis of what we can tell is they become like good girlfriends.
Confidants.
That's all I can tell right now is that they become close and they share their stories and it's really impactful. And so it's not a typical rom-com, I would say, compared to some of the others we've recommended on this list, but it came up a lot over, when I was looking for books that are really hyped for this summer. This one was always recommended.
Yeah. And it kind of gives to me like a mixture of kind of like Sister of the Traveling Pants meets Leanne Moriarty.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's not actually particularly clear like if there's romance between the two female characters, but definitely that they have a connection that alters the path of their lives going forward.
Yes.
And so I'm excited to dive into this one. I love the setting.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's such a Nicholas Sparks like setting, right? Like a beachside hotel, you know? So that'll be fun to dive into. And it'll be fun to explore too, just their backstory and their lives. It's already getting so much buzz. And so we think this one will be a really strong title. And I'm excited.
It says it's supposed to be really funny as well, which again, that's hard to find sometimes. So it's got some humor. There's some tough things that they talk through and they bond over. And the last thing I'll say about it is on the synopsis, which says, "The Wedding People is a look at the winding paths we can take to places we never imagined, and the chance encounters it will sometimes take to reroute us." So it just sounds like this is a moment for both these women where it's going to completely shift their lives. And they're going to bond. And that's why it's like chick lit. And
love it.
I'm excited. It sounds great and something different than what we've been recommending and something new to read.
Yeah.
So that's our top 10 list of books that we are really excited about and that are getting so much buzz for this summer. And we'll make sure to link all the titles in our show notes so you can go back and find the ones that interest you most to add to your to-be-read list.
And readers, thank you so much for listening to the LitJoy Podcast. Please make sure to rate and review us.
And like a good book, recommend us to your friends.